Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one, we are back in Hong Kong, and because of that, we are going to kick off again with a Hong Kong beer. So we're going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good number of times before. These guys, in my opinion, are a very solid all-round brewery, although their lagers are a bit more of a kind of go-to for me here. But the beer that we're looking at today is a style that I've had from them a couple of times before, one that I know they can do very well, and this one is also the third and latest installment from a little mini series of beers that they've been releasing over the last couple of months. It is supposed to be quite nice, this one, so I'm really curious to see what it's going to have in store for us. So hopefully it's another good beer, hopefully it makes for an interesting review, and as always I hope that you guys watching enjoy my take on this one as well. So yeah, for this review then, we are going to head to Wong Chuk, which is on the southern part of Hong Kong Island, and we're going to have a look then at another beer from the wonderful Young Master Brewery. So this particular beer is number 3 in their Hop Around the World series, and this time it is Australia. So yeah, comes in at 6% ABV, this one, a New England Hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. And yeah, it has some hops in it that I have encountered all of these hops before, but 2 of them are not ones that you come across all that often in Europe actually. I need to get back down to Australia and have a little look at some of the beers and things like that down there. We have been reviewing a number of Australian beers in recent times, but of course the craft beer scene has moved on a lot since I was there back in sort of 2014 and 2015. So yeah, some out and about videos filmed in Australia would be pretty damn cool. But in the meantime, we have this Australian hopped hazy IPA from the wonderful Young Master here in Hong Kong. So let's crack on with this one then and see what it has in store for us. So, as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting though, just fast forward. All the usual links can be found in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Young Master Brewery before, and we will no doubt add some more to that list at some point in the near future. But there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The support that you give is massively appreciated, and remember, you can go into the channel homepage and search for beer based on the geography tagging system. So just go in there, use the little search bar, put in your hometown, state, county, province, whatever you like. If I've reviewed beers from the area you search for, they will pop up. Failing that, you can check out the playlist of beers from different countries. You'll find this one in the Hong Kong playlist along with a number of other things. And like I say, we will be adding a number of Young Master beers to that list over the next wee while, because I do have maybe 5 or so cans that I need to work my way through from them. But yeah, you can check out the stuff from the other countries too, because there are some very interesting things on the channel these days. But we've got good beer here in Hong Kong, which is always nice. But yeah, let's go on to my brewery notes then, and I'll tell you a wee bit about Young Master Brewery once again. So, Young Master was founded back in 2013 by Rohit Dugar, who is originally from New Delhi in India. So he moved to New York, from New York to Hong Kong back in 2011, and he was working for Goldman Sachs. And after a while, he decided that he wanted to quit and found his own microbrewery. So he was joined at the brewery by the German brewer Ulrich Altbauer, who had quite an extensive experience of brewing in China, and he was the master brewer for the first few years, but unfortunately he died in 2016. So the current brew team is Edwin and Brian, who have both worked for the brewery for a good number of years, and their first brewery that they had was in Apley Chow, which is, I think that's the little island, if I remember correctly, near Aberdeen, in the south of, just to the south of Hong Kong Island. But this facility had a 10 hectolitre brew kit, which acted as their main production until 2016. So they opened up a new brewery in Wong Chuk with a 40 hectolitre brew house from GEA in Germany, as well as a larger barrel aging area, and they've also got a big fodder there for producing sour beers as well. And they were actually the first brewery in Asia to have a big fodder like this, so quite pioneering brewery as Young Master. But they brew around 15,000 litres per month at the moment, from what I understand, although that number, just seeing the amount of output they have here, that number might be a little bit inaccurate. I probably need to ask them about that and see how much they're actually brewing these days. But they've got several tap rooms and restaurants. There is TAP, the Ale Project in Mong Kok. There used to be a second one up in Shun Wan as well, but that's now closed. They've got Second Draft in Victoria Park, which I really do recommend you check out. That's a lovely venue. They've got Pub 1842 in Central, Central. Until very recently they had Alvy's in Kennedy Town, which was a pizza restaurant, and that was good. I was so sad when that closed down. But they also have the Guild Bar down in Singapore, which I went into and had a little look at, and that's a pretty cool pub as well, I have to say. But today they're the largest craft brewery by volume in Hong Kong, and they're also the most decorated Hong Kong craft brewery as well. But as of April 2024, they have produced 270 different kinds of beer according to Untappd, and they now employ 20 people. So yeah, interesting company, and they do some really nice stuff. So yeah, if people were to ask me about their beers, I would always say try the unfiltered Pilsner. It's a really, really nice lager beer, and you can find that in quite a few of the Circle K's around Hong Kong. And one of the cool things about these guys is that they do special beers that are released only through Circle K, so you can get quite an interesting array of Young Master stuff in the Circle K's around the cities and the towns here in the Hong Kong SAR. So yeah, but that's everything, as I say, we can tell you about Young Master Brewery for the moment. If you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn a little bit more about all of the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's leave it at that. Let's get on and actually have a little look at the beer itself. So I'll just let you have a wee look at the artwork on this one again before we open it up. Let's bring it up to the camera and hide my face so that it focuses. But yeah, you can see the Young Master pants thing there. You can see the characters up at the top, the kanjis, as you would say if you're talking about Japanese. Number 3, hop around the world, Australia. But yeah, you can see there's a little kangaroo on the side there as well. I don't know about the other side. But yeah, this is a 330 milliliter can, and if memory serves me correctly, I think I paid like 24 Hong Kong dollars for this. So that's about £2.40, maybe €3, $3 American, something like that. I don't know what it would be in Aussie dollars actually. Maybe $3.50 Aussie? Don't know. But yeah, 6% ABV, this one, Hazy IPA. The hops in this beer are Eclipse, Enigma and Topaz. All of them have been encountered before. Topaz is one that's been around for a hell of a long time, but didn't really gain popularity that much until about, when, the kind of new wave of craft beer. But Eclipse, to tell you about these, we'll go through them. Eclipse was released in 2004, gives you an average of about 16% alpha acid, and it's recommended for use in West Coast and cold IPAs, and it gives you flavours and aromas of like pine resin and a big mandarin orange. Enigma is a newer one released in 2013. I love Enigma actually, but 16% alpha acid, and it gives you that sort of white green gooseberry Nelson Sauvin type thing, but it also gives you a good little bit of red currant as well in my experience. And Topaz, as I say, is a bit more of an old school hop. That was first released in 1997, but it was cultivated I think back in the 80s from what I remember. But it's about 16% alpha acid, and it gives you flavours and aromas of lychees, and it's quite a distinctive grassiness to it as well apparently. I've not had Topaz in a very long time, but from the, which website was it I was using, was it Yakima Hops? Yakima Hops were saying these are the things that you should get from Topaz. So let's get this guy out into the glass then and see how we go. There we are. Right. So let's do this. I actually bought this can with my colleague the other day, and he bought 4 of them and took them home to drink. But he told me this one is pretty good. I wanted my first taste of the beer to be on camera, of course, just because that's what the channel's all about. But yeah, you can see this one looks pretty damn good actually. So before the head disappears, you can see that the beer poured with about a finger of a frothy, I would say cream coloured head. Smaller bubbles just on the surface of the liquid there, but a few kind of slightly bigger, foamier ones the further up that you go. But you can see the colour of this beer is quite interesting actually. This I think is one of the lighter coloured ones we've seen from the Hop Around the World series so far. But remember, the colour of your beer depends on a few things. 1, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. 2, length of your wort boil is also going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker coloured beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well. But yeah, you don't often have to care about that when it comes to different IPAs. So yeah, in terms of the haziness in this one. I have to say, this is actually quite a soupy and gloopy looking New England, especially for a 6%er. So the haze depends on the oak content, wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. But yeah, this one has the opacity of, certainly has the opacity of like a double or even a triple IPA. This is pretty damn impressive for a single 6%er. So yeah, it looks good. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation. If I put my hand behind the glass, you can see just how opaque this thing is. But yeah, nothing, when you think about what style this beer is, there is nothing untoward about the appearance of this beer. So yeah, let's have a wee look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Aroma section time. So let's do this. Oh, that's interesting. I'm wondering if they're using Australian malt in this actually as well. I'd be very curious about that. But aroma-wise, this is pretty damn nice. Again, it's what you'd expect. Now, as I've said on the channel many a time before, when it comes to hazy IPAs, New Englands, whatever you want to call them, there are 6 different things you can think about. So you have the kind of yeasty, farmhousey character and the rye-lean and grainy side of things. Those are a bit more common in American brewed New Englands, but you've got the wheaty bitiness, the oaty creaminess, the barley malt bread, and also the sweeter side of things. Now, this beer, for me, comes across as being a little bit more sort of grainy and a bit more yeasty, but I'm getting quite a lot of the barley malt out of this one. At the same time, there's a wee bit of more oaty creaminess to it and a little touch of sweetness. And you can smell the wheat just densifying out. But one of the things that's interesting is you have to think about where your malt actually comes from, because, for example, in Europe, your wheat malt is a bit more dry and bitey, whereas in America, it's a bit smoother. Likewise, the European oats are a bit more creamy, whereas the American oats, I find, are a little bit drier, actually. So you need to bear these things in mind. But for me, I get a lot of barley malt out of this one. I'm also getting quite a little bit of... I'm also getting quite a little bit of, I would say, oaty creaminess, and as I say, a little bit of sweetness as well. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on with this one actually. But the malt, it smells nice. It gives you a lovely big kind of juicy fruit. You notice the green component on this one is quite strong, which is in keeping with what we have we've said about the hops as well, especially the topaz. Was it the topaz that was supposed to have the grassiness? Yeah, it was. So yeah, the aroma, this one is quite nice. But let's just break it down and describe it for you a wee bit more in depth, of course. The backbone of your beer is, of course, that kind of soft, fresh, hedgehog white crust. That hedgehog bread white crust, absolutely. There's a little touch of cracker and woodiness in this one, but very, very minimal. A lot of the bready characters are... a lot of the bready characters in this one are, soft white bread. There's a little touch of brown bread, but not too much. Fluffier white bread in there. At the back of the nose, you can smell a little bit of that wheaty, kind of bitey sort of thing. So yeah, lovely wheaty bitey character coming out of this beer. And then yeah, you've also got there's that sort of wheaty bitey character coming out of it. You've also got some oaty creaminess in there, and also some of the sweetness. The aroma in this one's pretty nice. Malty side of things, yeah, it does give you a little bit more sweetness the more you smell of it, and you start to get more of the oaty creaminess out of it too. The malt base in this is really nicely done actually. I'd love to see the brew sheet for some of these beers that Young Master do and just see what malts and things they're using. But I really do like how everything pieces together in this one. But awesome stuff. So on the hoppy side of things then, the green component in this one is very very bright actually, which is what you'd expect. So remember, with IPAs there are 3 kinds of hoppings that you can do. Early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil, and that gives you mainly, that's responsible for most of your bitterness. It gives you that big deep dank aroma. You've got late addition hopping, which takes place in the last half hour of the wort boil, so that gives you quite a little bit of grassiness and things like that. Quite a little bit of flavour and aroma, but it's also responsible for a little bit of your bitterness depending on when you do it. And then dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete, is that's going to give you all flavour and aroma, and that's going to give you a brighter green component in your flavour and aroma. So yeah, the way that that goes together, I think, is really, really nice. So yeah, aroma-wise, this is really, really cool. I like the green component in this one. Quite, you know, there's quite a little bit of grassiness coming out of it, which will be the topaz. You've got a good little bit of piney resin as well to this one, which is going to be your eclipse apparently. But yeah, you can smell a bit of the piney resin. If you take the aroma in quite deeply, yeah, you get a little bit of the kind of piney resinous note. You also get the nice kind of zesty grassiness in there. But yeah, the way everything pieces together in this one, I think, is really, really nice. So yeah, aroma-wise, this beer is really quite interesting. So yeah, the green component is good. The fruity side of things is kind of what you'd expect, to be honest with you. There's a little bit of that stronger, more kind of grapefruity character, which I think is going to be coming from the topaz out of all the hops in here. I'm getting the big, from the eclipse, you can get that big juicy orange, but the Enigma's quite a distinctive hop actually, so the Enigma, you can smell that white green grape gooseberry sort of thing coming out of it. For me, yeah, this is interesting because you get that sharper and slightly spicier kind of lychee note out of this one, for sure. And that's the topaz, and the grapefruit's in there as well. So that spicy, almost spicy lychee note, and the topaz is in there as well. It was only recently in Singapore when I had a lychee lager that I really realised that lychee has this almost like lavendery spice to it. So you can definitely smell a bit of the lychee from the topaz in here. But then yeah, there's a wee bit of grapefruit behind that. The Enigma for me is almost the backbone of the beer. I don't know if it's a 33 mixture of these three hops, or if it's maybe, you know, 25 of 2 and 51, or I don't know what the exact ratio of the hops is. But yeah, the way that everything kind of pieces together in this one is really nice. Yeah, but the Enigma is the backbone of this one for me. The gooseberry, the white green grape, the red currant as well. Then you've got that nice big juicy, yeah, that nice big sort of juicy orange from the eclipse in there. Really interesting aroma, this one, so gets a thumbs up from me in that regard. But yeah, I think that's everything we really need to say about the aroma of this beer, to be honest with you. So as I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma before you get stuck in. But I think we can have a taste of this one now and see what it's all about. So yeah, this is Hop Around the World number 3, Australia, from Young Master Brewery in Wong, Chuk here in Hong Kong. A 6% New England Hazy with Topaz, Eclipse and Enigma. Slàinte, skål, cheers, Gambe. That's pretty nice. Very soft, very smooth. New England. Actually a bit drier as well than I thought it was going to be. But it's got that nice kind of juiciness to it as well. I'd love to see Young Master do a few double New Englands, actually. Because I think they'd be quite good at it. They've got a double West Coast from them in the fridge, which I'm very curious to try, but their West Coasters are always nice. You know, Young Master are very good at the very clean mouthfeel beers, and their New Englands are always solid too. They're you know, all round these guys are a really solid brewery. I'm always interested to try whatever they do, but yeah, this is good. This is a solid beer from them, so thumbs up to them. I'm curious to see where they go next with this series as well, because they've done the US, they've done New Zealand, now they've done Australia. They're going to have to go to maybe Germany or Slovenia or something like that actually for the next one. Because yeah, those are the only other countries with the high alpha acid hops. You know, you've got your Styrian Wolf and your Styrian Dragon and stuff like that from Slovenia, and you've got Mandarina Bavaria and Hallertau Blanc and one or two other newer ones from Germany as well. So yeah, this is It's going to be interesting. But as I say, this is another solid beer from these guys. It's good. So let's just break the flavour down and describe it a bit more in depth for you, as we always do. One thing I'll point out is it's quite a barley malt leaning and wheaty leaning New England, this one, but you get more of the oats into the aftertaste, I think. And just going from the flavours, I'm pretty sure it's European malt that's in this one. I think they're using German malts for this. But yeah, middle third of your palate then. The backbone of your beer, you've got that lovely, soft, fresh, white bready character coming out of this one, which is really, really nice. So, as you move further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a little bit of a kind of woodiness underneath, particularly into the aftertaste, and you can feel that Jacob's cream crackery note just sitting on top of everything else there. So yeah, hedgehog bread crust, Jacob's cream cracker, a little bit of woodiness. Very, very good. On top of that, you've got a kind of wholemeal. You've got a wholemeal brown bready sort of thing in there. So yeah, you can feel that the wholemeal brown bready character in this one, which kind of sits there, and that comes out a wee bit more into the aftertaste as well. So on top of that, you get the white bread, and the white bready character, you can feel that the barley malt white bread is actually, it's got quite a bit of density to it, so you can feel that slightly more grainy and dry white bready character in there. Then you can feel the wheaty layer, and the wheaty layer is even more dense than the barley malt layer underneath. And as you go further back on that middle third of your palate, you can certainly feel a wee bit more of the kind of wheaty bitiness coming out of the beer, which is very nice. So yeah, on top of the wheat, of course, you start to get the oats. And as I've said many a time on the channel, the oats in a New England IPA are very often a good indicator of how fresh your beer is. So essentially, the creamier the oats are in aroma and flavour, the fresher your beer is. So you've got a nice kind of creamy note. You've got a nice kind of creamy note down the middle of your palate here, and as you move further out toward the edges of your palate, you start to get the more kind of oaty dryness coming out of this one, which I think is pretty good. So yeah, you can feel there's this beer is very, very fresh, but yeah, the oats are giving you a little bit of dryness in this one, which is quite interesting. So as you go further out toward the edges of your palate, yeah, the oats get a little bit drier, and maybe in the dead centre of your tongue with this beer, you've got a very slight touch of that Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing, and there's a wee bit of biscuit as well. So yeah, the way all of that pieces together, I think, is really interesting. But yeah, flavour wise, this is really nice. Oh, must have a pigeon somewhere. Okay, don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a bird obviously just landed just close to my window here. I'm on the fourth or fifth floor, actually. So yeah, that'll be fun. It's going to annoy me now. But yeah, we've covered the middle third of the palate then and the malty side of things there. So yeah, on the back third of your palate then, you've got that nice, you can, if you go between these two thirds of your palate, if you like, you get that little bit of bready build up in there. You've got a wee bit of the brown bread in the base, the white bread, and then the wheaty character sitting on top. But as I've often said, the back third of your palate's going to give you similar flavours to the back third of your palate's going to give you similar flavours to the middle third of your palate, just at different intensities. And you're often going to get, you know, the further forward on the palate you go, the sweeter the flavours are, the further back you go, the drier they are. So the backbone of that back third of your palate is, of course, the kind of hedgehog bread crust. You absolutely get that. But it's just drier, of course. You've got a little layer of kind of brown bread in there, which feels a little bit lighter and more airy. Then you've got the white bready layer, which again feels a bit lighter and more airy. And then you've got the wheaty character sitting above that. So the wheatiness has quite a little bit of bite on that back third of the palate. So yeah, overall, the malty character on the back third of the palate is quite interesting, as I say, quite similar. So on top of all of that, you're getting the yeasty side of the beer. So on the yeasty side of things, you can feel, let's see. So the yeasty side of the beer in this one is quite, it's actually got a little bit of sweetness to it almost as well. But the yeasty side of this beer for me is quite, it has a bit of that kind of more dense brown bready character in the centre, then surrounded by it, it's got a more kind of rustic, crusty, like fresh bready note, and then like a woody, crusty character around the edge. So all of that sits on top of the back third of the palate, and you could definitely feel that the flavour on the back third of your palate is taller. Then as you move further forward into the middle third of your tongue, it just kind of condenses down and squashes together that little bit more. So the way that this part of the beer goes together, I think, is really, really nice. So yeah, that gets a thumbs up from me. Yeah, on the malty and yeasty side of things, I think we've said everything we need to in that case. So let's go to the green component. This beer actually does build in bitterness a little bit the further into the aftertaste that you go, which is quite interesting. So in the back corners of the palate, there's definitely a little bit of earthiness to this one, and that takes a wee bit of time to come out. But as you move further forward, you can feel there's a wee bit of herbal character there, but deeper down, you're getting the piney resin notes, which are going to be from the eclipse in this case. And so yeah, you get that nice kind of eclipse, pardon me, you get that nice bit of kind of piney resin bitterness from the eclipse. Then as you reach the kind of front corners of your palate, it's got a little bit more floral and spicy character to it. Then round the front curve of the tongue, it's just that little bit lighter and more kind of grassy, I would say, as well. So yeah, the way all of that pieces together is quite nice. Green component is pretty much what you'd expect, in all honesty. So yeah, on the green component, I think we said everything we need to. Let's focus on the front third of your palate then, and the fruity side of the beer. So the border region between front third and middle third of your palate, you get a nice little bit of bready build up in there. You've got the brown bread in the base and the white bread on top. So yeah, the base of that front third of your palate is the bread crust, cracker, the wholemeal brown bread, and the white bread. Then you've got that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. So the fruity side of things, as I say, it's kind of what you'd expect from what you read about these hops, to be honest with you. So in the base, you can feel a little bit of the kind of spiciness of the lychee, almost. So yeah, there's a little bit of a kind of spicy lychee character to this one, just lingering there throughout everything. But you've also got that really nice, yeah, you have that really nice sort of, you've got that really nice, I would say, kind of oily, gooseberry, white grapey kind of thing from the Enigma in there for sure. And on the front half, so yeah, all the way across this front third of your palate, you've got the lychee and the oily gooseberry, white grapey note from the Enigma. But then further forward on the front half of that front third of your tongue, you're getting the kind of red curranty notes as well. But the eclipse is in there, and that's giving you a big mandarin-y orange. And you get the mandarin-y orange a little bit earlier in the flavour. The lychee and the kind of gooseberry white grapes linger into the aftertaste. And but the red currant and the kind of mandarin-y orange are there earlier on in the flavour. I think that's definitely fair to say. So yeah, the way all of that pieces together, I think, is really nice. But I think we've said everything we need to about the flavour of this beer. The only other thing I would add is that into the aftertaste you get more of the oatiness, more of the Enigma coming out, you know, the kind of gooseberry type flavours and a bit of the red currant as well. So yeah, I think Eclipse is showing itself in the beginning, Enigma later in the end, the topaz I think is kind of showing you most of the green component in this one, the topaz and the Eclipse are doing that. But all in all, really nice New England IPA, this one. I think they've done a solid job with it. So yeah, that's the end of the tasting section. Mouthfeel wise, right in the middle of the spectrum, mid-bodied, carbonation is quite smooth in this one. The beer does have a degree of creaminess to it, but the further into the aftertaste you go, you get a wee bit of dryness out of this. IBU wise, I think this is a fairly standard 30 IBU, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit more at like 40 or something, because you do get more of that grassiness and pine resin coming out of it. But yeah, the malt base, you've got that grainy character. Yeah, you've got the kind of graininess underneath. Yeah, you've got the graininess underneath. You've got the smoothness in the middle and a slight sweetness and creaminess on top. And then you've got a little bit of juicy fruity character coming out of this one too. So yeah, the way everything kind of pieces together in this one, I think, is really nice. Another solid beer from Young Master. Not surprised, and definitely satisfied with this one. And yeah, really solid. When I think about this one for the 6%, and I often like the slightly stronger hazy IPAs. Yeah, I think this one is really quite nice. So it's a big thumbs up from me for sure. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was the Hop Around the World #3, the Australia edition. Curious to see where they go with this series next, but certainly have enjoyed this one. So this comes to you 6% New England Hazy from Young Master in Wong, Chuk here in Hong Kong. So yeah, until the next time, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Young Master as well, and we will no doubt return to these guys again at some point in the very near future. But until then, slàinte, skål, cheers, and see you guys in the next review.